You know what it's time for. It's time for a brand new edition of the Real Sports Talk Show. Like always, I am your host, and my co-host, like always,
Kevin Rosser.
that'd be Kevin. So, we got to watch the very first episode of Hard Knocks last week featuring your Cleveland Browns. And episode 2 does come out tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. So, anybody who's trying to catch it, it will be on HBO tomorrow night at 10. And to actually go ahead and start this off, I did catch some sports talk on the way into work today. And one of the things that I was kind of laughing about, which if anybody listens to the fan on the way to work, usually you get a good laugh with Ken Carmen. But today was pretty funny because Peter King tweeted this morning that the Cleveland Browns kind of had, because the Browns do get to pick and choose what goes into the show. If they have something that is recorded and the Browns don't like it, they can go ahead and veto it and, say, please don't put this in the show. But according to him, that there was actually going to be a big piece in this next coming episode that releases tomorrow. And no, it was not Corey Coleman getting traded. It was that Todd Haley, it was just like another one of those group, the coach conversations, and that Todd Haley looks directly into the camera. And the tweet has already been deleted, but he said basically that Todd Haley looks at the camera and says, it's not up to me to put Baker Mayfield at 2. Like, if it was up to me, basically what he was saying is Baker Mayfield would be our starting quarterback. So Todd Haley, they released that, and then Peter King, everybody's losing their mind about this because they're like, wait a minute here, we have a huge problem going on in Cleveland. The offensive coordinator and the head coach are at 100% complete disagreements. And then he comes out and he says, yeah, well, that's my fault. It was used the other day on Pro Football Talk as a joke, and I'm the only one who didn't get the joke. And when right before he deleted the tweet, he said, removing a note about Todd Haley quote from Hard Knocks Tuesday, the error or the quote never happened. That's my error. My apologies. So Rosser, after everything kind of got, the day kind of started off today, and that goes away. So did it happen, or was that just a cover up?
I'm not sure. I mean, you look at getting back a bit to the actual first episode of Hard Knocks. One of among other things that we'll touch on in a sec, one of the things that was abundantly clear was that Todd Haley has a very abrasive personality, and so does Hugh Jackson to an extent.
You're talking about the coaching meeting.
The coaching meeting that they showed towards the latter half of the first episode.
Yeah, and they got into the argument.
They got in the argument that was basically along the lines of, okay, these guys
are soft.
They're soft, in words of one Jarvis Landry. But Hugh Jackson was making the argument, okay, we have these analytics that show, okay, if we work out these guys to a certain extent, after a certain point, they have an incrementally increasing risk of, I believe it was pulling a muscle or something.
They get hurt.
Something along those lines, getting hurt in one capacity where they've already been previously injured. And so he was making the point of perhaps easing up on these guys, and Todd Haley was making the counter argument along the lines of, well, I'm the offensive coordinator. I want to get as much.
He's not the only one. He was not. There was the running backs coach who said something, and all Hugh Jackson said was, "Well, I'm the coach. I'm the one who drives this bus. So thanks for the input. But if you guys were sitting in my seat, you would know what I'm saying. But my biggest thing is, how many wins does Hugh Jackson have in his coaching career? 9. Todd Haley has more than 9 career head coaching wins. So I don't know exactly what Hugh Jackson was getting at. If I was Todd Haley, I would have looked into the camera and just laughed at that moment, but that did not happen. But other than the fact that we have to bless him, what else did you pick up from the show?
Well, yeah, Jarvis Landry's, highlight piece, aside from the quote-unquote rant that he went on with his receiver group, just overall his attitude throughout the entire episode was very positive, very constructive, and one that we haven't really seen in a very public form for a Browns player.
Kenny Britt was very in a public forum about being happy that he got signed to a lot of money and is doing nothing. He was happy.
Yeah, but it's constructive because Jarvis Landry is the exact opposite of Kenny Britt in this case, where he wants to put his money where his mouth is.
Right, Kenny Britt was a
earn
loser.
his way.
Right,
and the other one, the other player that caught my eye and obviously caught HBO's eye, that's why they gave him quite a big segment, was Christian Kirksey.
I could have went without the drums. That was like the whole drum, and they were showing like the highlights with the drum. That was kind of one of the dead points. Like I actually looked down at my phone. I was bored at that point. But the rest of it was cool.
It was a character building moment, but it was still
dumb.
filler nonetheless.
It was dead.
But
it was dead.
The main part that I was glad to see was his whole why mantra, where he was trying to get his teammates to say, okay, what is your why? Why are you here? Why are you playing football? And to tape it above your bed so that's the first thing you see in the morning and the last thing you see at night. And I think that was powerful. And yes, it is somewhat simple in its delivery, but it's the fact that he's one of the leaders of this very young defense, very young team as a whole, and seeing him step up and trying to take this team by the reins and really do something this season and beyond. It's really good to see as a Browns fan my entire life. Really haven't seen a whole lot of players come through. I mean, you look at Joe Thomas, obviously. There haven't been a whole lot of guys on the defensive side of the ball to really take this team under their wing, even though they're only in the league for a couple of years, as Kirksey has been. But to just basically say, okay, I'm going to want you guys to rally behind me and really let's try and make something special. And that's what I really like seeing as a whole with the whole Hard Knocks special. And I'm glad to see what could possibly happen in episode 2 now.
Now, after the first show ended, what is your prediction? Because I came out of the show thinking these guys are going to go 11-5. And is Jarvis Landry now your favorite player?
He's definitely up there. I still love Josh Gordon. I really hope he comes back soon. Perhaps there's going to be some more talks with
some insight,
some more insight with that situation in the next episode. I really do love Christian Kirksey. I love what I've seen so far from Baker Mayfield, his passion, and that whole segment with the RV. And if Brogan does not make the 53-man roster,
he won't.
I know there's a very, very small chance he will.
We're not carrying 4 quarterbacks.
But just the whole segment of, you know, him stocking the fridge or the RV and just going through everything, it was very entertaining.
Now, before we end, I have 2 last things to hit on. One of the things that caught my eye, and I don't know, I know a couple people did, you know, they called in and I heard this, but I did notice there was no Jimmy Haslam, there was no D Haslam, and one of the things that I would like to say that it was really nice was they did kind of not hint at, but now that, you know, with social media and the way it is today, it kind of sheds some light on it that Josh Gordon is just not here because of Hard Knocks. If Hard Knocks was not here, Josh Gordon would be here.
That's probably true.
And I 100%, and we can touch on some other stuff. And if you catch our next show, that's going to be all about the next episode. It's going to be about the next game, which is on Friday. And we're going to touch on some of the Antonio Callaway situation, stuff like that. But just to go ahead and talk about Josh Gordon being there before we end this, does this affect, you know, what your view is? Because I know when they first said Josh Gordon will not be in camp, everybody said, oh, God, you know, he's back on the shits. This is all going to go bad. We lost Josh Gordon. And then, you know, boom, you know, a week in, we already lost, we traded Coleman, and Callaway gets pulled over. So we thought everything was going bad. And it turns out Josh Gordon, he really is just not, he just doesn't want to be here with the cameras. And I think it's a good move.
You obviously want to see one of your star players in camp getting in rhythm, especially with two new quarterbacks that are going to be battling it out. But it's all about his mental health, his physical health too, because he's. If you've seen any videos of him, he's still working out. You don't have to worry about that. He's not just lounging around in a therapist's chair just talking out his feelings. No, he's still getting in the workouts. He's doing everything he can physically to be ready for the season and mentally as well. And kudos for him for having the maturity to realize that
Not many people would do this.
Yeah, correct. You know,
It takes a man.
Some other guys might want to, be in front of the camera and say, oh, it might be good for them to be in the spotlight so that there's more pressure on them. But for Josh to realize that that situation would not be the case for him, that it would just set him back even further than the progress that he's made.
It for sure takes a grown man to do what that is a grown man move, to fully step away from the team, because you know that it is best for you, it's best for the team, and it's best for your own career, because this is his last chance. If he ever wants to play in the NFL, he cannot screw up this chance that he has now. Mm-mm. And pretty soon, I think we're going to be adding Antonio Callaway into that same discussion, but we'll save that for a later time. But for right now, the Browns are 1-0 in preseason. The first episode is already done of Hard Knocks, with the second one airing tomorrow night at 10 o'clock on HBO. And once again, we are still left with wanting more. We want more of the preseason. I already wish that the second game was tonight, but it's not. It's on Friday, so we have a whole week to wait. But I don't know about you, but I woke up on Sunday. I woke up yesterday in the morning, and I really had an urge to watch some Cleveland Browns football on a Sunday afternoon for the first time since 2007, 2010, something like that. So. Yeah. It's nice to get some playoff football, maybe, back in Cleveland. To get some good football in the air in Cleveland, to make it actually worth, waking up on a Sunday and actually setting your lineup. If you have Cleveland Browns players in it, it's going to be nice. So we do have a lot of things in the works, guys. Don't miss anything that's going to be airing soon. We continue to follow our Twitter and Instagram. We post stuff on there all the time, and we try to keep everything going. We try to keep the fans interacted. We try to keep everybody in Cleveland up to date on everything that is going on. Foisey does a hell of a job with everything that he's been doing. We always shout out Foisey, but that's just because we have to. I mean, the guy, he does a hell of a job. So
we don't know what we're doing editing-wise.
No, we barely know what we're doing on here. So for Foisey to take time out of his day and do what he's doing, we are very grateful for what he is doing. So shout out to Foisey. He is our producer. But Rosser, anything? Final goodbyes as we end the recap of the Cleveland Browns Hard Knocks episode 1.
I'm gonna set the over/under at the Corey Coleman expletives when he finds out he gets traded in episode 2. I think the over/under for expletives during that segment will be probably 3.5, and I'm gonna take the over on that for sure.
I think it's gonna be funny. I can't wait. But we'll find out tomorrow night at 10 o'clock on HBO. Hard Knocks episode 2 of the Cleveland Browns.